the border is remarkable. It has dropped, what, 95%? It's incredible.
As of this morning, 99%, 99.1% to be exact.
Why are those numbers not in the media?
They don't like putting out good numbers. They only like putting out, because I think they hate our country, actually.
Before I get to you, I just want to say, for the record, since we heard President Trump say in the Oval Office that CNN hates our country, CNN does not hate our country. That should go without saying. I've been here for 32 years, and I see a rhetorical device in him trying to say such a thing.
Trump just don't give a. I told y'all, ladies and gentlemen, we were going to do it big for the first time in history. I don't think nobody's ever done this. We already got tons of businesses on board. We got tons of people that wanted to support. Their names are going to be on the car. You name it. For more information, you can go in the description section and find out about that. But right now, I want to shout out two of our many sponsors that we're going to have that sponsor this race. First, I want to talk about Kerr Ammo, ammunition for freedom-loving Americans, family-owned company in my hometown of Fort Worth, Texas. If you order before 2 anytime, it'll be shipped the same day. Order right now, use code Tatum, and you'll get $10 off of your order of $199 or more, and that's including free shipping. The link will be in the description section. Our next sponsor is LiveRx. LiveRx is coaching in your corner. Losing weight and improving your health doesn't have to feel impossible. They have 24/7 live doctor support for customer care plans, starting at $250, no fee, no membership, no insurance needed, just results. Click the link below or go to the website liverx.md. Use code Tatum. Ladies and gentlemen, see y'all at Talladega. Let's talk about Donald Trump meeting with the El Salvadorian president, because I thought that was insane, right? So Donald Trump just came from the UFC fight where I was at that ended at 3 a.m. East Coast. So Donald Trump done went to sleep at 3 or 4, 5 o'clock in the morning, and then got up and did this right here. Roll the clip.
Mr. President, it's an honor to have you doing incredibly for your country, and we appreciate working with you because you want to stop crime, and so do we. I want to thank you for the great job you're doing.
I'm really happy to be here, honored, and eager to help. We're a small country, but if we can help, we do it.
We just have had a great relationship, and I want to just say hello to the people of El Salvador and say they have one hell of a president.
They have one. Did he say personal prison, bro? Go replay it. He said one hell of a
president.
President. I thought he said a prison. I said, God dang, Trump. It one heck of a prison. All right, he said president, so he didn't just completely go full Trump mode. So let's go to some of the clips where the news media was trying to, recreate a conflict between some person that was deported from the United States of America who was illegally in our country, who was an MS-13 gang member associated with the gang. Supreme Court ruled that Donald Trump was correct. The lower court said he wasn't. The Supreme Court said he was. I don't know why they still talking about this whatsoever, but they didn't get the response that they thought they were going to get. When you put two men in a room that legitimately care about their countries and not social media bullcrap. Roll the clip.
Let's hear the question from this very low-rated anchor at CB.
Thank you, President. Do you plan to ask President Bukele to help return the man who your administration says was mistakenly deported? The man who was mistakenly deported to El Salvador?
Well, let me ask Pam, would you answer that question?
Sure, President. First and foremost, he was illegally in our country. He had been illegally in our country. And in 2019, two courts, an immigration court and an appellate immigration court, ruled that he was a member of MS-13 and he was illegally in our country. Right now, it was additional paperwork had needed to be done. That's up to El Salvador if they want to return him. That's not up to us. The Supreme Court ruled, President, that if, as El Salvador wants to return him, this is international matters, foreign affairs, if they wanted to return him, we would facilitate it, meaning provide a plane.
So will you return him?
And you are doing a great job. Thank you.
Hold on.
Wait a minute.
The smartest dude with the biggest brain in the room is that dude Miller. That's like right here. That dude is like an encyclopedia on steroids in a human brain. He's like ChatGPT in a human. I swear, Donald Trump is going to ask him to respond to something. This dude is on television. He's crazy. and explaining stuff and getting into the weeds, and he can go back in history and he can go to every appellate judge decision and all this stuff. I think Trump gonna go to him in a minute, but listen to what the response is after what Pam Bundy said. Roll it.
Just also respond to that question because, you know, it's asked by CNN and they always ask it with a slant because they're totally slanting because they don't know what's happening. That's why nobody's watching them. But would you answer that question also?
Yes,
Look.
gladly. So, as Pam mentioned, there's an illegal alien from El Salvador. So, with respect to you, he's a citizen of El Salvador. So, it's very arrogant even for American media to suggest that we would even tell El Salvador how to handle their own citizens as a starting point. As 2 immigration courts found that he was a member of MS-13. When President Trump declared MS-13 to be a foreign terrorist organization, that meant that he was no longer eligible under federal law, which I'm sure you know, you're very familiar with the INA, that he was no longer eligible for any form of immigration relief in the United States. So he had a deportation order that was valid, which meant that under our law, he's not even allowed to be present in the United States and had to be returned because of the foreign terrorist designation. This issue was then, by a district court judge, completely inverted, and a district court judge tried to tell the administration that they had to kidnap a citizen of El Salvador and fly him back here. That issue was raised to the Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court said the district court order was unlawful and its main components were reversed 9-0 unanimously, stating clearly that neither Secretary of State nor the President could be compelled by anybody to forcibly retrieve a citizen of El Salvador from El Salvador, who again is a member of MS-13, which, as I'm sure you understand, rapes little girls, murders women, murders children, is engaged in the most barbaric activities in the world, and I can promise you if he was your neighbor, you would move right away.
So you don't plan
But
to
the
ask for
Supreme
any
Court is
help to get him
asking
back?
to,
And
that-
what was the ruling
that your
in
position?
the Supreme Court, Steve? Was it 9-0
Yes, it was a 9-0
in our favor?
in our favor against the district court ruling, saying that no district court has the power to compel the foreign policy function of the United States. As Pam said, the ruling solely stated that if this individual at El Salvador's sole discretion was sent back to our country, that we could deport him a second time.
Well,
No version of this legally ends up with him ever living here because he is a citizen of El Salvador. That is the president of El Salvador. Your questions about it, per the court, can only be directed to him.
Hold on a second. Well, don't that make you feel like if you were like, ChatGPT, what argument do I have for this question that was asked me by fake news CNN, and the voice will come out like Stephen Miller's voice? That's exactly what he would say. He literally went through the process more thoroughly than Pam Bundy and explained exactly the rule, how it was overturned, how it's El Salvadorian discretion to send him back, and even if El Salvador send him back, we can send him back to El Salvador. Like, it's no scenario. What I like what he said, no scenario that leads this man back into America. Now listen to the El Salvadorian president. This is why he's so successful. We need strong men like this all over the world, and we won't have a problem. We be living in utopia. Roll the clip.
What is can President Bukele weigh in on this? Do you plan to return him?
Well, I'm supposed to not suggesting that I smuggle a terrorist into the United States. How can I return him to the United States? Like, I smuggle him into the United States, or what do I do? Of course, I'm not going to do it. It's like, I mean, the question is preposterous. How can I smuggle a terrorist into the United States? I don't have the power to return him to the United States.
but you could release him inside El Salvador.
Yeah, but I'm not releasing, I mean, we're not very fond of releasing terrorists into our country. I mean, we just turned the murder capital of the world into the safest country of the Western Hemisphere, and you want us to go back into the releasing criminals so we can go back to being the murder capital of the world? No, that's not going to happen.
I'd love to have a criminal,
Yeah,
released into
I mean, there's a fascination.
They would love it.
Yeah.
They're sick, these are sick people. Mark, do you have something to say about that?
Yeah, I mean, Stephen outlined it. I don't understand what the confusion is. This individual is a citizen of El Salvador. He was illegally in the United States and was returned to his country. That's where you deport people, back to their country of origin, except for Venezuela that wasn't refusing to take people back, or places like that. I can tell you this, Mr. President, no, the foreign policy of the United States is conducted by the President of the United States, not by a court. And no court in the United States has a right to conduct the foreign policy of the United States. It's that simple. End of story.
And that's what the Supreme Court held, by the way, to Marco's point. The Supreme Court said exactly what Marco said. that no court has the authority to compel the foreign policy function of the United States. We won a case 9-0, and people like CNN are portraying it as a loss, as usual, because they want foreign terrorists in the country who kidnap women and children. But President Trump, his policy is foreign terrorists that are here illegally get expelled from the country, which, by the way, is a 90-10 issue.
Well, Mr. President, you said that if the Supreme Court said someone needed to be returned, that you would abide by that. You said that on Air Force One just a few days ago. And they said that it must be facilitated.
Why don't you just say, isn't it wonderful that we're keeping criminals out of our country? Why can't you just say that? Why do you go over and over? And that's why nobody watches you anymore. You know, you have no credibility.
Trump just don't give a. I love that about Trump too. You know, I think sometimes he get a little petty.
And we appreciate it. Thanks.
Actually, what you're doing with the border is remarkable. It has dropped, what, 95%? It's incredible.
As of this morning, 99%, 99.1% to be exact.
Why are those numbers not in the media?
Well, they get out with the fake news, you know, like CNN over here doesn't want to put them out because they don't like putting out good numbers. They only like putting out because I think they hate our country, actually.
Yeah,
but it's a shame. You're right. Isn't that a great question? Why doesn't the media? Why don't they put out numbers?
Yeah, 99%. I mean, it's crazy, right?
We're doing
it's a crazy turnaround.
Christy, could you maybe say a couple of words?
Definitely focus on a lot of some misinformation as well. But we want to digest all of this right now with our terrific panel here and our reporters. Jeff Zeleny, I want to start with you. You are at the White House. Before I get to you, I just want to say, for the record, since we heard President Trump say in the Oval Office that CNN hates our country, CNN does not hate our country. That should go without saying. I've been here for 32 years, and I see a rhetorical device in him trying to say such a thing. That said, I want to focus on the news that we heard.
But I do like the fact that Trump is willing to stand up against these clown shows that just simply compel arguments that are negative. It just have a negative slant to everything they say. Like they're talking about returning a MS-13 gang member back to the United States of America, or even asking the El Salvadorian president to release the gang member into his country. The person is an MS-13 gang member. What are we even talking about right now? Why do we just go to the next question? Why are they advocating? Because what they will say is a man that was falsely sent to El Salvador. The president of the United States, with all authority, said that wasn't true. He was already, by every account in court proceedings and findings, that he was a part of a terrorist organization. And then the El Salvadorian president, where he's at currently, believes he's a terrorist, and they're not releasing him. What are y'all still asking? Okay.